So you guys familiar with John Kennedy? He's a Republican senator from Louisiana.
Yeah.
Is he related to the Kennedy family?
I don't believe so. Is he?
Okay, while you talk about this, I'm gonna look into that.
Anyway, he's a scumbag senator from Louisiana, and he was questioning one of Biden's nominees who happened to be from the Soviet Union. They were born there, and he was questioning them about their communist affiliations because when they were younger, they were mandated by law to join like a young communist type movement, and they left the Soviet Union, renounced their Soviet citizenship, did all that stuff. But the senator was trying to press them to make them look like a communist because they were from the Soviet Union. So I wanted to look at some of that footage today. I'll just play this quick.
You used to be a member of a group called the Young Communist, didn't you?
Senator, are you referring to my membership in the Youth Communist Organization while I was growing up in the Soviet Union?
I don't know. I wanted to ask you that question.
Well, Senator,
There was a group called the Young Communists, and you were a member. Is that right?
I'm not exactly sure which group you're referring to.
Well, the formal name of it is the Leninist Communist Young Union of the Russian.
By the way, when he was reading this, I was like, that sounds like a Twitter bio. I'm sorry. I gotta get that out of my head. Okay, let it keep playing.
Federation. And it's also known as the Leninist Komsomol of the Russian Federation, and it's commonly referred to as the Young Communists. Were you a member?
Senator, I was born and grew up in the Soviet Union.
Yes, ma'am. But were you a member of that organization?
Everybody in that country was a member of the Komsomol, which was the Communist Youth Organization, because
you were a member?
That was a part of.
Oh my God! What a rude asshole!
Have you resigned
from the
Young Communists?
You grow out of it with age, automatically.
Did you send them a letter though, resigning?
What the fuck?
You can't.
Does he really not know?
Like, he doesn't.
What is the goal here? What is the goal here?
So the goal here is that there's not a lot of problems with this nominee. The Republicans have not found a lot of ways to attack this particular nominee, and so he has decided that he's going to try to tie this person to communism through their history as an immigrant, since they were born in the Soviet Union and they were mandated to go to this. If anything, you would think that the conservatives would be excited to say this is somebody who fled communism, right? This is somebody that, and if they were a Trump nominee or whoever is going to be president in 2024, if it ends up being a Republican, they would probably be running with that narrative if it was their nominee. Oh, they fled communism. It shows how dedicated they are to the cause of freedom. But but since she, of course, is the Biden nominee, the other way to go about that is, oh, she was a part of an organization called the Young Communists. She had no option. She can't choose where she was born. By the way, I want to know.
Every single person. It's like if I'm from Iran and they're like, so you were in the Islamic Republic, is that right? Yeah, that's what the country is called.
The thing that really gets me is I want to know what young capitalist organization the senator was when he was young. I just want to know that.
YMCA, bro.
Oh yes, the YMCA, Young Capitalist Organization. There's some more footage here. One second, let me play the rest of it because it gets worse. It gets worse somehow.
Senator, this was many years ago. As far as I remember, how the Soviet Union worked was at certain age you automatically stop being a member of that.
Could you look at your records and see if you can find a copy of your...
Senator Kennedy, I don't interrupt. I almost never interrupt these, but...
Well, you always interrupt me, Mr.
No, actually, I don't. Not nearly as many times as I'd like to. No, she renounced her Soviet citizenship.
Well, I understand that.
Okay, let me keep going 1 second because it goes even further. Okay, let me play the rest of it.
I don't mean any disrespect. I don't know whether to call you professor or comrade.
Did you hear that? Did you hear the tiny like? There was somebody off the side. It's really hard to hear. But
Go back.
After you hear
Go
him
back,
say
Ed.
that, listen very carefully. Somebody like says something away from the mic. You can hear them say, "Oh my goodness."
Professor or comrade?
Senator, I'm not a communist. I do not subscribe to that ideology. I could not choose where I was born. I do not remember joining any Facebook group that subscribes to that ideology. I would never knowingly join any such group. There is no record of me ever actually participating in any Marxist or communist discussions of any kind. My family suffered under the communist regime. I grew up without knowing half of my family. My grandmother herself escaped death twice under the Stalin regime. This is what's seared in my mind. That's who I am. I remember that history. I came to this country. I'm proud to be an American. And this is why I'm here today, Senator. I'm here today because I'm ready for public service.
Okay, so that's the last of it. Have any thoughts on this generally, David?
I mean, I think she handled it well. Obviously, like tried to educate him on what was going on. I'm just amazed that he really doesn't understand.
No, he doesn't.
I am, I shouldn't be surprised, but I am surprised at how dumb these people are. And just it's.
Do you think they're dumb or do they do it on purpose?
Well, I normally think they do it on purpose, but in this case, it does seem like he just doesn't know, unless he really is just putting on I mean, they all act, so he could just be acting. But it's wild, like the kind of shit they'll reach for to try and smear somebody. Like she was born into it, had no choice. She explains this, and he's still pressing her on it. It's just bizarre to me.
What really
he should have asked her, what do you think about seizing the means of production? Just start grilling her. What do you think of workplace democracy, huh?
What really gets me is did you send him a letter? Like what? Like she was supposed to send the organization.
You have a copy of the resignation letter? Like,
yeah.
What?
Like after she flees, I think you'd think once you flee the country, that's I think that's enough of a kind of a leave notice you can give. And like somebody is just fled the country. The North Korean guards are like shooting at them. They just jump over the barbed wire, get to the other side, and like 10 years later, someone's like, "So did you ever send to the factory owner in North Korea a notice before like escaping the country?" Like, no, I think they were kind of preoccupied with leaving the country.
Yeah, and like you said, this is the kind of person that conservatives should love. Someone who escaped this, has renounced communism. Like they should want this person. Like, but they'll have to find anything because it's a Biden pick, right? So they'll do whatever they can to try and make her seem like this I don't know, this communist.
I think it brings up an interesting dynamic because the Republican Party has always loved the narrative of the voter who escaped communism, is now in the United States and is now voting Republican, voting conservative. For example, they've made a lot of inroads with, for example, Cuban immigrants in the United States because of their fear of Fidel Castro and stuff like that, and the communist regime in Cuba. And so there's this narrative only goes so far, though, because if it's somebody who fled communism or a regime that they don't like, whether it's the Iranian regime or it's Fidel Castro or whoever, if they end up voting Democrat, well, then instead of trying to say this is this patriot that fled communism, you got to tie them as much as possible to the regime from which they fled, which is just so bizarre to me. And it just shows that immigrants, in a way, are just like a political tool in that way.
Oh yeah,
where it's just their status as an American comes into question immediately when they disagree with you politically.
One thing that's that I'm seeing here a lot is people who left like Eastern Europe, immigrants that are living here that are from Eastern Europe, and now they're like vaccine hesitant. Because they're like, I left, like, I don't trust the government. I didn't trust the government back home, and now they don't trust the government here. And I've seen a lot of that, like where I live, where a lot of Eastern European people are like hesitant to get it because of like the distrust of government. And I find that interesting. People's personal experiences, having an impact on how they think. Now it's like you left that kind of government for a reason. You came to Canada or you came to America for a reason, right? But yeah, it's interesting anyways.
Yeah.